Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
Absolutely heartbreaking. An 11-year-old boy hit and killed as he was running for help here in Van Buren Township.
State assessment scores are in, and there has been a decline in almost every grade level. Tonight, experts are weighing in on students' academic health during a pandemic.
And she called it a dark day for her office. The Oakland County prosecutor is pushing to have a murder conviction dropped in a fire that killed 5 children. Prosecutor Karen McDonald says Juwan Deering did not receive a fair trial and there may have been ethical violations.
The house fire in Royal Oak Township killed 5 children back in the year 2000. In 2006, Juwan Deering was convicted of murder, though he repeatedly declared his innocence. 15 years later, prosecutors now want his life sentence thrown out. Rod Maloney joins us with more on why McDonald's office wants Deering to get a new trial. Rod.
Yeah, Devin, Kimberly, it's all because of this report. It was a special prosecutor's report put out today that says that this case amounted to prosecutorial misconduct. And in particular, she points out that it was this set of pictures shown to a witness that never made it into the trial, and that is against the law. This is Juwan Deering, now 50 years old and having spent the last 15 years in prison. He may soon leave the Kinross State Penitentiary in the Upper Peninsula. In 2006, this is what he looked like in court after receiving a life without parole sentence in this horrifying Royal Oak fire. 5 children perished in these flames, and it took 6 years to get an arrest and a case to court. And now, all these years later, Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald said today of Deering's conviction.
This is a dark day for this office, and I think all of us have really struggled with it, and we are committed to making sure this just never happens again.
McDonald said when she first heard about the case, she became concerned, but turned it over to a special prosecutor when a video interview of one of the children who survived the fire categorically stated the person he saw or heard on the porch that night before the flames engulfed the place was not Juwan Deering. Video that never made it to the defense or the jury. Imran Sayak of the University of Michigan Innocence Project says that he spent 5 years trying to make all this happen.
This is truly one of the worst instances of hiding favorable evidence that I've ever come across in 11 years of doing this.
The Michigan State Police are investigating this entire case, particularly the arson investigation part that said that the fire started outside the home. Now, there's another corner of this case that is of deep concern, and that is the use of jailhouse informants. There were 3 of them. The claim is that they were used regularly by the Oakland County Sheriff's Department and the prosecutor's office when it's likely they should not have been used, particularly because the claim that they said that they didn't get anything in return for their testimony, and they say that's categorically false. In the meantime, we're expecting paperwork to get filed tomorrow morning to try and get Juwan out of prison. Back to you.
It's an extraordinary development, Rod. So are there any other investigations now into this case?
Well, yes, there is another one by the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. They have an internal investigation, and what they have has been turned over to Michigan State Police. They say they can't give out what they know until the Michigan State Police finish their investigation, and there is no time frame on when the MSP is going to do that.
Yeah. All right, Rod. All right, now to the news many parents were dreading. New test scores from the state show significant learning loss during the pandemic.
That's right. Results dropped for every grade tested in math and social studies, and for most in reading as well. The greatest decline, though, comes in 6th grade math, down nearly 6.5 percentage points from 2019. Priya Mann is following this story for us, and Priya, educators say they were expecting this.
Yeah, Kim, Devin, I mean, it's no surprise considering the fact that the pandemic completely upended students' lives. But it doesn't paint an entire picture. You know, the results are troubling. Experts say that there are many students, it's clear that they are struggling.
I mean, every educator right now knows that there are students that really need quite a bit of support right now.
The results are in, and the scores show the pandemic has taken a toll on students. State assessment scores from this spring have dipped compared to 2019.
But the reality is what any given student dealt with over the past year was not a one-size-fits-all issue that a standardized test is ultimately designed to show.
Michigan's Department of Education saw MSTEP scores decline in English, math, and social studies for nearly every grade. But the K-12 Alliance says during a pandemic, standardized tests aren't a reliable meter of where students are at academically.
The most important thing to realize about these numbers is that it's a snapshot of students that were in a completely foreign and never before seen academic environment.
Last year, the MSTEP was optional, and the state says students who took the assessments were more likely to be from districts with in-person or hybrid learning and less likely to be students of color, economically disadvantaged students, or English learners.
We won't know what any given child needs to get back on path towards success until we can start working with them one-on-one in a classroom setting and have the ability to ask them, how are you doing and what can we do to help you?
And educators say there is one silver lining. That's billions of federal dollars in relief money that's gone to schools to help with support programs for mental health and also for tutoring. They'll be available for the next 2 or 3 years. Of course, that's one shot at sort of billions in relief money, but experts say that could make a huge difference and sort of bridge that gap we've seen over the past year. Reporting live tonight, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
Yeah, let's hope it does. Okay, Priya, thanks.
Saying he refused to open another decade of war in Afghanistan, President Biden is marking the end of America's longest war. As the final flights took off from the airport in Kabul, the Taliban celebrated. There are still about 200 Americans left in the country. Alice Barr has more on President Biden's determination to stick to the pullout deadline.
Devin, President Biden today standing by his decision to leave Afghanistan, insisting it's in America's national security interest and should mark an end to the era of major military operations to remake other countries.
Snapshots from the end of a 20-year war. The last U.S. soldier boarding a plane to leave Afghanistan. The final diplomats carrying the American flag. As Taliban militants celebrate in the streets and comb through equipment the U.S. military made inoperable before leaving, President Biden addressing the nation today.
We succeeded in what we set out to do in Afghanistan over a decade ago. Then we stayed for another decade. It was time to end this war.
The president faces fierce criticism for the deadly chaos of the final days in Afghanistan and for sticking with his timeline, despite leaving as many as 200 Americans behind and thousands of Afghans who worked alongside the U.S.
I believe there should be accountability for what I see as probably the biggest failure in American government on a military stage in my lifetime.
President Biden defended the evacuation, calling it a success that brought more than 124,000 people to safety. He vowed to keep working to get everyone out while insisting America is better off without a lasting presence in Afghanistan.
I firmly believe the best path to guard our safety and our security lies in a tough, unforgiving, targeted, precise strategy that goes after terror where it is today.
The president honoring the 13 U.S. service members killed last week in a terror attack outside the Kabul airport. The fallen joining more than 2,400 U.S. troops lost in a bloody conflict that's ending how it began, with the Taliban in control of Afghanistan.
President Biden has been counting on having American public opinion on his side over his decision to leave Afghanistan. A new Pew Research poll finds a majority of Americans do support the withdrawal, but most do not give high marks for how he's handled it. In Washington, Alice Barr, Local 4.
All right, Alice, I mentioned the 200 Americans awaiting passage. That's actually not all Americans in Afghanistan. The president says his administration reached out to Americans there 19 times, offering to help them leave. But he says the U.S. has identified around 5,000 who decided to stay in the country. All right, now to new information. In a deadly crash in Van Buren Township, we've learned an 11-year-old boy was killed on his way to school.
Just awful. Police say it happened early this morning when his mother's car broke down on Michigan Avenue near Denton Road. Sean Lay is there live tonight. Sean, this is just heartbreaking.
Kimberly, Absolutely heartbreaking here. And police tell us this 11-year-old was running across Michigan Avenue, they believe, to get help for his mom and younger sister.
It made me come straight out of a deep sleep and sit straight up because there were so many police and fire and ambulance coming down our road. It was so loud, it made me sit straight up.
When this neighbor heard rescue crews speeding by her home, she knew out on busy Michigan Avenue a tragedy was unfolding.
I knew something bad had happened.
Police say it was 6:20 this morning. Sky 4 can show you the tragic scene. Van Buren police tell us a 34-year-old mom from Ypsilanti Township was driving her 11-year-old son and 9-year-old daughter to school. Their car broke down in the turnaround lane on Michigan Avenue near Denton. Mom and kids were out of the car. Police say it was dark. The disabled car had no lights. That's when a 61-year-old man tried to make that Michigan left, didn't see the car or mother or kids, and hit the car. Mom and daughter suffered cuts and scrapes from the impact. Police tell us her 11-year-old son then ran across Michigan Avenue when he was struck and killed by a GMC pickup. Police think the boy may have been running home to tell his dad about the accident when he was hit.
And it's horrific. It breaks my heart. It's upsetting that a little boy lost his life. It's sad.
Sad indeed. Now we know that mom and daughter were taking the Michigan medicine to get checked out. Police say they're going to check on them very soon. We're certainly thinking of them and that family tonight. Meantime, all drivers involved in this chain reaction crash, they stopped. They're cooperating with police tonight. We're live in Van Buren Township. Sean Lay, Local 4. Kimberly, back to you.
Horrible story. Okay. Sean, thanks.
We've got much more to come here on Local 4 News at 5.
Let's check in with Hank.
Tonight, I'm one-on-one with Michigan's Attorney General. The changes she would like to see DTE and Consumers Energy make should we lose power once again. We'll have that story for you coming up tonight.
I'm meteorologist Andrew Humphrey. We have sunshine, clouds, warm conditions, and still comfortable. Can this continue the rest of the week? I've got the answer coming up, as well as a new tropical depression in your weather forecast.
All right, Andrew, also 100 days into his detainment in a jail in Myanmar, the family of Danny Fenster has new concerns about how he's doing. Liz?
The latest on the aftermath of Hurricane Ida and Louisiana's long road to recovery. I'm Liz McLaughlin in Kenner, Louisiana. That story coming up.